They lost it a long time ago. And the one thing they've been very good at is actually taxing us through the printing of money to try and save their own skins. And I mean, this is what happened after Lehman. The blank checks, which the Fed in effect wrote, I reckoned at the time totaled about $13 trillion. Now, that was an enormous sum. I mean, it was considerably more than the whole of the US GDP. Now, of course, I mean, we think trillion here, trillion there. I mean, it's small money. Why? Because there's just so much of this currency and credit around that, a trillion, let's talk tens of trillions. Why bother with the smaller numbers? I mean, the debasement of the currency has been that dramatic, and they've just kept themselves going through debasing the currency. And it's been like that. I mean, the fascinating thing, we had an interesting program on art on the BBC the other day, and they were talking about art which had been given to the City Corporation of Glasgow. And there's one painting, I can't remember quite who it was by, but it was something like a Botticelli or a Titian or something like that, which the donor had bought for £4. Now that's 4 sovereigns, 4 golden sovereign. You sort of think, what would it be today? I mean, that painting will be worth 10 million in auction today. Okay, now it's gone up. It will have gone up on its own accord, but a lot of that is debasement of the currency. And that's what's happened. It's been pretty much a continual process, certainly since Nixon ended the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1971. And I would say also certainly going all the way back to when Roosevelt devalued. Well, first of all, he banned ownership of gold for American citizens, and then he devalued the dollar by around about 40%, sort of overnight in January 1934. Now, this, it's really from that moment that you've just got an explosion of government financing by debasing the currency. It started under the gold standard, and when that failed in various stages, it just went pure fiat, and that's what we've got now.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
And that's why gold, incidentally, has gone from at the beginning of this millennium, 21, 22 years ago, from $260 to, and I'm looking at my screen at the moment, $1835. That's why. It's not that gold has gone up. This paper money has gone down. It's gone down because governments just spend it like drunken sailors by expanding the quantity. I mean, if you've got a printing press and you can just print the money off it, then wow, what a wonderful thing to do. I'd be doing that all the time, kidding everybody who's got the money that, don't worry, it's perfectly all right. I'm looking after you. Mm-hmm. I'm debauching your currency and looking after you. Now, how about that for a line? That's what governments are effectively doing to us. Well, I think the better way to look at it actually is not that, because what happened was that after the sort of more or less after the Napoleonic Wars, we went on to a proper gold standard, and the sovereign coin, which was £1, which was £1 in currency, as it were, the equivalent of, it was fixed at that. That was first issued in 1817. Now, sovereign today is £340 each. So you can see what's happened to it over all that time. Mm-hmm. The real decline was really following or during and following the First World War. And we went back onto a bullion standard, which basically meant that you could exchange pounds at the Bank of England for 400-ounce bars of gold. That was in 1925, and it failed in 1932. And since then, it's just continued to go downhill. And it's always, governments just cannot resist. I mean, if a government is in the business of interfering with our lives, then, they've got to finance it somehow. And there comes a point where, out of taxation, we start saying, no, well, I'm not going to elect you if you continue to tax me like that. So what do? They resort to the printing press. And this is where we are now. You know, from £1 to 330, 340 pounds is what's happened to sovereigns. And it hasn't stopped there, in my view. Well, I mean, basically, it's worse when a crisis happens. In the crisis, that is when it's bad. And I think that the next crisis will be considerably worse than the one we saw last time.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Alasdair, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I intend, how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Alasdair.